Hey Taylor. So I feel like I always have a disclaimer at the beginning of my videos. My battery is about to die, so I'm going to record this as quickly as I can. Today I am recording part one in a two-part video about my chapbook horror story. If you don't know, I have a chapbook being released in April. Maybe, probably. I'm really not sure if it's still happening or not. And so in this video, I'm going to talk to you about just sort of what a chapbook is, what goes into creating a chapbook, and the purpose of a chapbook. And then in the second video, I'm going to tell you all the details about my awful chapbook horror story. So my name is Azaria, and I have a chapbook being released this year called The Smiths of 115th Street. Please don't look for links to it on this channel. I will not be promoting it. And so I'm going to tell you about this process from start to finish in the hopes that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. In my video that will be posted on April 30th, I believe, we'll get into all of the drama. What is a chapbook? A chapbook is a small, inexpensive book, typically containing poetry, but it may also contain other literature or even visual art. And my chapbook is a prose chapbook. They are meant to be quick reads, they're meant to be inexpensive, and they're meant to just circulate a writer's work in a quick way. And they typically are 40 pages or less. When I heard of them, I thought that the name came from like chapter length books. Like I thought that they just sort of made a portmanteau of that, but it's actually from the word chapman. And in the Wikipedia article, which I'll show to you, they link them to broadsides, which are poems that are typically published on like a sheet of paper, so just one poem, and then distributed. And then the next part of this, I'm just going to read off of my document because I worded it really well. Chapbooks work as an alternative for people who couldn't afford books or maintain libraries, and they also served as a way for writers who didn't have full-length works to distribute their writing. Now they serve a similar purpose. Many writers like me go into their first formal experience in publishing through a chapbook process, which is like a smaller version of the publication process for a full book. Typically, you're going to get your chapbook published through a contest of some sort. There are a few that I can name off the top of my head. So I know Yes Yes Books does the Vinyl 45 contest. I believe Driftwood Press has a contest, Diode Press has a contest, and Bull City Press has an open just submission period for you to submit chapbook manuscripts. Sometimes you'll get a small advance, very small, like $1,000 or something, and then free copies and then royalties. However, I really doubt that chapbook writers typically earn out on the chapbook. So to earn out means that in royalties, you remake the advance and then make more royalties after that point. I just doubt that a lot of chapbook writers do that because chapbooks don't circulate very well anymore. I entered my first chapbook into a contest and I didn't win, but I was a finalist and they offered to publish it still, give me a small like publishing deal with a little bit of royalties that I doubt that I'll ever see. And that's what I did. I'm also just going to show you a few of the chapbooks that I have. There really is no like particular size that chapbooks can be, and you'll see. So this one's probably my favorite, the Kiming Chang. This chapbook is a rewrite of Wuthering Heights. It's very good. It's very unique. There's another one of the same size, like Lena Bartone. And then I have another one by Lena Bartone, which is bigger. So this is also a chapbook. As you can see, it's very thin. I have one by Jen Marie Nunez called June. This is the first chapbook that I ever purchased, and it's so good, so interesting. And then this chapbook is my favorite chapbook. It's the only poetry chapbook that I have, I believe, and it's called The Porch by Jay Nichelle. And I actually used this chapbook, the cover design, as a reference when I was speaking with my small press about publishing my chapbook. And so the contents of the chapbook can really be like anything you want them to be. You can put together several short stories, like a short story collection. You can do the same with poetry, or you can just sort of run one long story throughout the length of the chapbook. I would recommend that if you're running a chapbook and you want to do short stories, flash fiction, poetry, so like separate poems, I would recommend making sure that they all fit together in a cohesive way. I would actually recommend that it's one narrative so that the stories are connected or the poems are connected and they're a sort of pastiche or a part of a larger story that the chapbook is trying to tell, rather than disconnected stories that are maybe about the same theme. But sometimes it's best to, survey the pieces that you have and then put something together. Other times it's best to just do one long linear story. I have written 2 chapbooks as of right now. The first will be published in April, maybe. Check back later. to see. The second one hasn't been published at all. I did enter it into a contest, but they chose not to publish it. The second one is more of a linear story. That one I actually began writing as my dissertation project for my PhD program, but the more that I developed that project, the less that portion of the text seemed to fit, but I still thought that it was really good, really succinct, really indicative of the kind of writing that I want to always be doing. And I edited it down and just made it into a chapbook. And so I'll probably submit it somewhere else. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my regrets with publishing my chapbook, and I will get more in depth with these in the second video in this series that I'm going to post. But for now, I'll just give you a sort of general overview about my regrets with the process. The first and probably most prominent is that I wish I would have done more research about the press itself. I wish that I would have contacted other writers to see what the experience was like. And I wish that I would have been in more contact with the editorial assistant who was working on my chapbook, just to make sure that there's nothing that she needed from me and just to sort of see what her experience was like. I wish that I had refined that first chapbook a little bit more. I hardly remember what's in it, and I'll tell you why in the second video, but I remember feeling like I could have done more with it. There's really this sort of sweet spot for editing. So you don't want to be super close to the work, right? You don't want it to be a brand new work that you just finished writing, because then you're super close to it. You still have this really specific vision for it. And for someone to come in and suggest changes can feel detrimental to the work that you've put into it. But then you don't want to be too far away from it, because then you are disconnected from the work. You want to sort of find that sweet spot, or the editor does, where they can give edits to you and you can look at them with some kind of objectivity. And then my final regret, honestly, is that I wish that I would have published a chapbook sooner. I wish that I would have tried to get this started sooner, because if I had done that, I think that I would have a book deal by now. And here's why. You might know that I'm working on a novel currently. I'm revising it. I'm having a grand time doing that. But I think that if I would have had, I don't know, the satisfaction of having a full-length workout, even though a chapbook is, like I said, at most 40 pages, if I would have gone through the publishing process and had that full-length workout there and been able to use it to network with writers and editors and agents that I've been in conversation with over the years, I really do think that I would have written an entire book by now and queried an agent and then had that agent pitch it to editors. So even if I didn't get a book deal, I think that I would be agented by this point. And that's really it for this video. Just a quick one today about chapbooks. If you are writing a chapbook, want to write a chapbook, just want to learn about chapbooks, I hope this was helpful. And like I said, please come back at the end of April when I post the second video, where we get into the nitty-gritty about all of my regrets and the entire nightmare of a process that publishing this chapbook has been. See you later.